Except where them haters, where them hoes, where them throws, you know what I'm saying? Cecil.
This is why I train in martial arts. Now take a look at this article. This Asian American doctor is put on probation after revealing he gets bullied at work. This man definitely is in need of martial arts training. And this is why I train in martial arts, because you could be working in some place where you would not expect to be bullied, and you end up getting bullied. And then what happens when he speaks out? He gets put on probation. Eugene Gu is a medical resident at Vanderbilt University who made headlines in September after taking a knee to stand in solidarity with NFL players fighting against oppression of African Americans. So, according to this article, his actions got him harsh criticism online and even death threats. So he kneels down, puts his fist in the air, literally, and he gets death threats for it. Here we go. Let's take a look at what he said happened to him in November that a resident did. 1. Bullying during surgical residency is a serious issue. I was physically assaulted by my chief resident at Vanderbilt Hospital. While I was trying to help my patient, my chief resident elbowed me and knocked me away from my workstation. It was beyond humiliating. Let's look at something else. During this time, the nurses on the Vanderbilt trauma unit would take milk cartons from the garbage can and place them on my desk. Now, you can't roundhouse kick your way out of that. The elbow to the gut, if you're used to taking shots, you might be able to iron body your way out of that, or just tighten up or maybe give. But you can't really, there's no technique that you're going to have that's going to get you out of the dirty milk cartons. I'm speaking out of the risk of further retaliation because this culture of bullying must end. If we stay silent, the abuse continues, and I agree 100%. Because if you take Taekwondo, for example, you can develop indomitable spirit. And it seems like his co-workers are in need of the principle of self-control. And courtesy, of course. Because what they're doing is not showing courtesy. Workplace violence, I'm reading again. Workplace violence is completely unacceptable. As physicians, we dedicate our lives to helping others during their most vulnerable moments. We swore a Hippocratic oath to do no harm. Looks like their Hippocratic oath is an oath of hypocrisy. But bullying is an absolute violation of that oath. We must change this culture immediately. Now I agree with him on that 100%. Excuse me. Gu wanted to shine a light that this sort of culture exists in the workplace and must be stopped. And the school put him on probation. Gu acknowledged that the resident has since left the hospital, but maintained that the character of his co-workers as the chief resident is accurate. But it looks like the school/hospital was mad because he identified someone. They say he misidentified his alleged assailant as a chief resident and implying that the resident was still with the university, but he wasn't. So I guess they feel like, hey, we got rid of that guy, and then what do? You say he's still here. You're making us look bad. We're putting you on probation. The first time he arrived at the hospital, he was flagged down by a man in his 20s. He stopped, thinking that the man needs medical help, and when he opens the car door, the male yells out, "Hey," racial slur, "you can't effing drive." And then the man grabbed him. He grabbed him by the identification card that was, he's not wearing that in this picture. It's dangling around his neck. And then the guy started stalking him and stealing his papers. Oh, and look at this. Look at this. This is something I tell people about a lot, especially offline. These snakes, these ridiculous snake people, they act all polite when the authorities come around, and then you look like you're the one that's doing something because you have emotions. You're all upset and yelling and screaming because you have moral outrage and righteous indignation. But then when the cops come around or the authority comes around, like the boss comes around or something, and some people went through this in their family when their parents would come around. When the police were called to the scene, the man appeared so normal and polite that officers wanted to let it go. Gu persisted that he wanted to press charges, but the officers said that they would have to arrest them both on misdemeanor charges, which I think is ridiculous. But you know, that's how manipulators do it. They act like, oh, I didn't do anything. Oh, I can't believe. Oh, I'm sorry. That's just like, that's why I tell this. I peep this after a while when I would watch videos. Because I've seen it happen a little bit too before there were video cameras. You know, I call it like when you see a black person lose it. Like, for example, they'll show you a video online and they just show a black person going off, hollering, screaming, and they say, ha ha ha, look at those black people, right? There goes the voice of judgment, and you got all types of go back to Africa, whatever the heck. But then, whenever you start digging, you find out that the black person is going off about something that anyone would get upset over. You find out it's a miracle that all they did was start screaming and yelling, because you know deep down inside, if that happened to you, you'd want to bust somebody in their face. You're supposed to bust them in their face, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, you would want to bust them in their face. A movie that gave a good example of that was American Horror Story, where they have the the cult leader throws urine and feces on these Spanish-speaking guys that are standing outside by a hardware store. So they get mad because someone threw urine and feces on them, and they run over there and they start beating him up. And then he gets that film, and he looks at, and he uses that to go, see, crime is going up because of these immigrants. Look at what they did to me. I'm a victim. When he was being, and act like they're being racist towards him, when he was the jerk that instigated it in the first place. So let's put that bully tactic on blast now. So what you need to do, and it's hard, and I hate doing it myself, and I can't even always do it myself, even though I know to do it, is when somebody does something to you, you have to be as calm and rational and courteous as possible, even though you would really have every right to kick them in the head, but you need to be calm and just explain your case. And I can tell you, and I'm not going to go into detail because I said I wouldn't, I had to deal with one racial thing back in the day. This was many jobs ago. And you know it was bad, right? First, because here comes like the HR person is coming, and they're acting like, oh, well, you're being oversensitive, right? So then, like when I showed my evidence of, this is the picture that they drew, and they showed me. And then I said, and then I actually documented, and this is what they said, and this is this, and I'm sitting there calm. The person who's doing the investigation was so revulsed and freaked out that she started shaking. But and before I went and had those meetings and talked about that stuff with those people, I actually went into yogic meditation to try to keep myself down, calm down. I went into yogic meditation, and then during that whole ordeal, whenever I went home at night, I read some scriptures, and I would practice my martial arts techniques. So I had to call upon God. God gave me this tool of martial arts and the yoga breathing to stay calm. And I actually did get justice. But that is what you have to do. You're going to have to go into the super Zen-like state because you're dealing with the demonic snake. Personally, I think people like that are possessed. But, we live in a world where you say God, people want to run. And if you want to deal with snaky people, I honestly think really Jesus is the best way to do it. But in addition to calling upon the Lord, you can let him train your hands for war, teach your fingers to fight, because a peacemaker will make peace and be able to handle this bullying. So, peace.